the one place that I think has fantastic data is just simply Google Maps.
Yeah.
The challenge with Google Maps, though, is that it's really just a search engine, not a database. I think data is all around you. You can get at it any way you want. How do I then action that data so that the data can become valuable to me? When you have a really nice, clean system like what we've built here with Map Leads, it gives you the ability to sort of pick it up and put it down, keep yourself organized. But the biggest thing is it gives you the ability to action the data for yourself and drive value out of it so that in return it's working for you. And the way that I want it to work for you is that you're getting more customers, by using the platform.
Yeah.
So that's really what Map Leads is in a nutshell. And so, your network is just amazing opportunity for something like this.
Wow. All right. Well, let's go ahead and kind of jump into it, man. I think we can show them better than we can tell them.
That's it. I love it.
Headed to the top, there ain't none of y'all stopping me. Used to say I never get a ring, Charles Barkley. Now I got a wife, got kids, own property. Bubble-eyed beans that look like that be watching me. Okay, I lied about the beans, but that was hard though. I'm still in that black act, but she starred though. Cause that's all it takes. Don't flash it for. I'm on my grind, not no more fashion show.
What's up, y'all? AJ Simmons here, back with another great interview for you guys. And today's guest is somebody that I feel that I was just destined to meet, y'all. Like, I saw his product and I immediately knew that this was something that'll change the way that we handle lead generation within our industry. So I'm excited I was able to partner with this guy and bring you this particular product right here. So fast forward a few months later, we were actually fortunate enough to come together and bring you this product. So, and through the Clean Biz Network platform. So without further ado, please welcome the founder of Map Leads, Mr. Tom Melbourne. What's up, Tom?
Hey, AJ. Thanks so much for having me on.
Absolutely. Thank you for coming on. So I talked about, this great product that's going to revolutionize the way we generate leads and so much more too. There's a lot more things in store with this platform. But before I go into all of that, first, I just want to kind of rewind because, the audience knows who AJ is, but let's get to know Tom a little bit and let the people know why I'm excited to bring you on. So let's talk about a little bit about your background.
Yeah, awesome. Well, yeah, and I'm excited to be here too. So really looking forward to this. Background. I grew up in the Northeast. That's like as far back as I can go, but I'll fast forward because there's a few pieces of the journey that kind of make sense. Ended up spending some time in Arizona where I got into, software sales. And then that software sales is the thing that ended up driving me up to the Bay Area, which ended up getting into, learning how to sell a bunch of software, teaches you really how to prospect. How to get into prospecting systems and things like that. So my journey in selling software is that I've worked at, probably 5 different, what they call venture-backed startups. And so what that means is, VCs basically inject a bunch of money into a company really early on. And then you got to figure out how to make that company, work, and things like what they call going to market. And so my job really is I'd go in as like the head of sales and I'd start to just build. And what that really means is that you're trying to do a whole bunch of stuff with absolutely no resources.
Right.
So through that process, I became, just really resourceful in terms of how do we take a product that's kind of like brand new, probably doesn't even really work yet, bring that out to the market in a way that we can sell it and, and start to drive money back into the company so that it can be reinvested. And so having done that a handful of times, I learned how to build some really good sales systems and processes. And, just now at this point, really enjoying taking what I've learned and how to build and, building software now for other people to do the same. So instead of just building it for my team, I'm trying to build it, for other people by having, Map Leads as a product and making it available.
Nice. Okay. Now, how did you, or better yet, I don't know if it's how did you, or should it be what made you come up with Map Leads?
Yeah, Map Leads is so. Again, with my background, I actually have had access to some of the best, prospecting data platforms you can imagine.
Okay.
But the challenge with a lot of them is that they don't really have good coverage or do a great job of finding your local businesses that are in your community.
Yeah.
For a variety of reasons. There's just not a lot of data on those businesses. It's hard to get at with any sort of really good coverage and fidelity, meaning that it's actually accurate data that's not just junk and garbage.
Right.
And so looking at trying to serve that market, the one place that I think has fantastic data is just simply Google Maps.
Yeah.
Right. Like if you're going to try to find a place to eat or a dentist to, pull your tooth or whatever you got to do, like you're probably going to start somewhere with like a local search, and the place that you're going to really probably have the first experience with them, typically even before their own website is on like a Google Maps profile.
Yep.
So the challenge with Google Maps, though, is that it's really just a search engine, not a database.
Yeah.
So how do you then start to pull all that data off? And maybe there's ways to do it. I mean, you could manually highlight, copy and paste, or type it in, or have a VA do it, or something like that. But managing all that data afterwards becomes like a really big challenge. And then the bigger pieces around like how do you action it? So kind of looking at all that stuff and trying to do some of my own prospecting in local markets, I just realized that there's a pretty big problem to solve for a lot of people.
Right.
And it's not always necessarily just getting at the data. I think data is all around you. You can get at it in any way you want. But it's a matter of how do I manage that data once I get it? How do I then action that data so that the data can become valuable to me?
Mhm.
Because if I do nothing more than just put a bunch of data in a spreadsheet or on some, and I don't ever do anything with that data, what was the point of doing any of that? And I think after you get the data, the next hardest thing is like, how do we do something with it?
Right.
Right. And then like make it work for us. And so the thing about data is that you have to clean it, you have to enrich it, you have to like keep it organized so that you don't have
Mhm.
duplicates, and you have to just know like the things that you're working and how you're going to work it within all the data. And that's actually a lot of work. And the challenge with it is that a lot of times, you'll probably do it for like a couple of days and then you put it down for a couple of
Yep.
weeks and then you pick it back up again, you forget where you left off. And then it becomes more of a chore to try to just do prospecting at all just to get started.
Yeah.
And then I think a lot of people just sort of stop there. And so, when you have a really nice clean system like what we've built here with Map Leads, it gives you the ability to sort of pick it up and put it down, keep yourself organized. But the biggest thing is it gives you the ability to action the data for yourself and drive
Mhm.
value out of it so that in return it's working for you. And the way that I want it to work for you is that you're getting more customers, by using the platform. And so that's really what sort of drove me to build Map Leads, was just to try to create like a beautiful end-to-end system for people who are trying to, leverage data, use data, find prospects and get customers in a way where, it's not so overwhelming that they'll actually do the prospecting work.
Yeah. Love
So
it.
so
Love it.
that's really what Map Leads is in a nutshell.
Okay, perfect, perfect. And we're going to definitely jump into it, and I want to kind of demo it a little bit later, but I still want to kind of unpack a little bit more, a little bit more about Tom. And so I was doing my research, as I was preparing for this interview, and I was kind of looking through your LinkedIn profile, and I see you got some really, great experience out there in the tech world, out there in Cali and Arizona. So I guess I want to start with like, what made you leave Massachusetts and kind of go out west? Like, what caused that? Do you feel like what made you do that?
That one's actually probably the boring one. So going from Massachusetts to Arizona, what ended up happening is my whole family moved. So I
Oh,
grew up in
gotcha.
Massachusetts, and when I say my whole family, I had grandparents, aunts, uncles, everybody, the whole tribe left.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
so I finished up school, and I sat there and I said, well, there's not really much here left for me anymore. So I moved out west. Funny enough, I actually spent a year and a half in Vegas first because it was close
Okay.
enough to Arizona. And as you can imagine, that got old. And so I ended up in Arizona and, kind of stumbled into sales and tech sales. And then that was the thing, in Arizona, especially at the time, it's gotten a lot better now,
Mm.
but there just wasn't as much, tech sales. And I had really, young family at the time. And sales can be a pretty volatile job. It can
Yeah.
be, you're kind of hopping around different places from time to time. And I think in Arizona, I just kind of like reached the end of what I really had available that was still new and interesting and different. And some of the team I had worked for at the time, it was a company called Citrix Online. They still go to meeting and things like that. I was there for a while. They all moved up to the Bay Area and started working at startups.
Okay.
And so they ended up just recruiting me up to the Bay Area. And the biggest reason I did that was around the volatility of the job market. I thought my wife and I had a conversation and we said, you know what? I could always hop jobs and never have to like move the kids from school to school,
Mhm.
and be able to like navigate my career in a way where I had a lot of optionality. And that's how I ended up in the Bay Area. And it's been fun. It's been a really interesting journey, I think, and both for my career and for the family. And so it's been a really good move.
Nice, nice. So I got a somewhat of a selfish question here. With that said, because CBN is evolving more into a software company and less of just coaching and consulting and stuff, education. So I guess I'm wondering, from your perspective, would there be any benefit for me to move, and relocate up to the Bay Area, since that's kind of like the software, the tech hub, so to speak? Do you think there's any value there for me if I was to move over there?
That's an interesting question, actually. So asked me 5 years ago, I probably would have said absolutely.
Right.
And like, listen, I won't discount the amount of technology conversations that go on around you. and the amount of people you get to meet that are here. And I'll just share kind of a quick experience that I remember when I was first kind of checking out the Bay Area for the first time.
Mhm.
And I was coming up here and I was like going to check out a job and all that stuff. And I got off the plane, I hopped in an Uber and I was heading to like whatever hotel or something. And I just remember
Mhm.
driving through San Francisco and seeing the signs of every software company I thought was the coolest thing in the world. They were on billboards and buildings and cabs. And you're like, "Yeah, I'm here, like this is the place,
Right.
this is where it all happened." So from
Yeah.
that perspective, the energy is amazing.
Yeah.
Should you visit? Yeah. Should you maybe spend some time up here and get to know some people, make some connections? Absolutely. Moving your company, here's the crazy thing. I told you really just why I ended up making the move myself. Uh, in hindsight, after the pandemic,
Mhm.
what we all learned is that we can work remote digitally on digital products and stuff. And I think that it made the world smaller in some ways because we're able to connect like we are right now.
Yeah.
And so I think in that perspective, it'd be a big move. And I don't know if you'd have the same upside as you would have maybe 5, 6 years ago.
Yeah.
But also at the same time, there's still a lot of upside here. And I think just doing some visits, checking out some conferences, conventions, like kind of being really intentional about coming out. And a lot of people come into the area too for the same thing. So not only would you, build connections in this area,
Mhm.
have some really fun, interesting conversations, but you'll start to build your network worldwide. Right,
Yeah.
people that are just doing different things, and then kind of building that network out is a really really beneficial thing. So long-winded answer. I would say don't move, but I would say definitely visit, and
Okay.
then just do as much networking as you can online.
I like that answer because I do not like the laws in particular. I like my no state tax here in Florida. So thank you. I'll just visit.
Oh yeah, yeah. Forget about that here. Yeah.
Right. All right. But all right. So I also saw your LinkedIn profile that you had 2 angel investing companies, if I'm not mistaken, it was listed on your profile. So could you just kind of talk about those?
Yeah. So, well, angel investing in general is, you're writing like in the scheme of things, a small check, and putting money into a business, kind of very similar like what a VC would do. It's a private type of business like that, meaning they're not public, so you can't just buy stock into a company. So
Mhm.
what you can do is you can make an investment, and in turn they give you, like a small amount of shares.
Yeah.
And so the companies that I have a couple of those investments into, really were just in and around, you know, making investments in the sense of getting to know them first, actually,
Gotcha.
and being a part of their company as they were trying to build it. So when you're building software, it's really hard to get all the pieces of it together unless you have people using it and
Right.
getting some sort of user feedback, right? You'll build something in a way that you think somebody's going to use it, and then you realize they didn't use it that way. They used it a completely different way that you'd never thought of before.
Yeah.
And so a lot of times, companies that are building would reach out to people like me that were, doing business in smaller organizations. And the trade there, like I said, I had no resources, so I would get to use their tool that was like mostly working, give a bunch of feedback,
Mhm.
get some benefit out of the tool, kind of thing. And just along the way, like there's some companies I made some really good connections with that I really believed in the products that they were building. And then through that, they'll give you an opportunity to sort of make an investment early on. And the
Gotcha.
idea at those companies, it's a big gamble, right? But if you can just throw in any, bit of money early on and they end up going, where they get bigger, then it's a little bit like a lottery ticket, but you'll get a bigger payday. It's like a more leveraged payday out of something like that. Honestly, I haven't really seen one of those come through.
Okay.
They take time. So
Yeah.
they're still sort of sitting and marinating, but at the end of the
Yeah.
day, you're also helping build the company and you become a lot more vested into it. So that's really what that's all about. And yeah, and the reason why I put on my LinkedIn profile is because, like, you do want them to do well and be able to answer any questions people might have about them. A lot of people reach out to me, about those companies in that way, and just answering some questions for them and stuff. So that's all. That's what angel investing is all about.
Gotcha. So it's not a situation where we should all be bum rushing you, asking you to be our angel investors. Not one of those situations. Okay.
No, because yeah, no, yeah, please don't. But the thing about it is, it's those things. The investment comes after the relationship happens,
Right.
and then
Right.
you're vested in a different way, and then you just get an opportunity to sort of make more of a financial investment to it, so you get any benefit out of it afterwards.
Gotcha. Fair enough. I just wanted to clear that up. All right, cool. So let's kind of get back. All right, I want to get back to what I really brought you here for in particular, which is map leads, obviously. And so first, I guess you can kind of like just explain to us exactly what is map leads, some of the features, and then if you want, we can kind of go ahead and jump into a demo as well.
Yeah. Yeah, perfect. That's a great transition. And so Map Leads is just that. It's basically taking Google Maps, which
Mhm.
is a search engine, and putting what's called a user interface on top of it, or a way for the user to interact with it in a fashion that's going to get the benefit that they're looking for out of it. And
Mhm.
so, yeah, I mean, your network is just amazing opportunity for something like this, in the sense of you are looking for businesses in your community. Typically, right? You want to be able to build up your book of business and businesses that you'd be able to go in and clean. And so, there's a lot of ways you can get that. Obviously, like referrals, word of mouth, things like that, just kind of knocking on doors. But if you can add some intentionality behind it, then you can also drive some repeatability as well. And the idea there is what I always used to tell my reps is like I always want them to have like the ability to have like their own gas pedal.
Yeah.
So, if your throughput of being able to clean, I don't know what it is, the number, but say like 5 or 6 businesses a night,
Mhm.
and you've got a night with only 2 on there, that's a really, in my opinion, I feel like it's a frustrating night because you're going out for 2. You really could be doing 5. You want
Yeah.
the other 3, right? Because that's the thing that's going to tip the table for you. How do you go find those 3 other businesses?
Yeah.
And that's what Map Leads is going to do. It's going to give you not just the ability to do some quick searching to figure that out. It's going to give you the gas pedal to take once you have those pieces of data, multiple ways to connect with them in whatever your jam is.
Yeah.
So things like if we want to cold call them, we've got a really great solution for that we can touch on. If you want to go in person, I'll show you a way to do that so efficient that you'll probably actually want to do it.
Yeah.
And then if we can find email addresses, if they're available, this information sometimes is really hard to find, but you can put them through, the Clean Biz Network CRM system. There's some really great ways that you can reach out to them through emails. And then finally, we'll touch on like even just direct mail, believe it or not. Send somebody a postcard goes a long way these days.
Wow. All right. Well, let's go ahead and kind of jump into it, man. I think we can show them better than we can tell them.
That's it. I love it. Yeah. What you can see is that we've already built it into your CRM platform for you. It's fully integrated. And that's something that, AJ and I have been working on here for the last few months to bring this to you. And so I know I'm excited. I know AJ is just as excited as well. And let's show you what we're excited about. So as a cleaner, there's probably different types of businesses you'll be looking for. I'm just going to go with something like a dentist office. And what I'm doing here is basically doing the same thing you can do on Google Maps, but we're going to show you what the benefit is of getting this set up here through our platform. So what's happening is I'm saying I want to find dentists that are near Phoenix, Arizona, and then I can limit the number of businesses that I want to be able to pull back. And so in this particular example, I'm going to max out and say 200. Now, what we're doing at this moment is we're going to Google Maps and I'm putting that same search in there pragmatically. And then when the results show, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be taking and bringing all those businesses into the Map Leads database so that you can then filter things and be able to then push them to the CRM and to be able to keep the data organized and to action it. And so when we're pulling 200 businesses live, it can take, half a minute like this, and here in just a second, it's gonna populate and show up. All right, perfect. And so here's what we just got, and what just happened is all those dental offices in Phoenix, Arizona, we've been able to pull them here back into the platform. And what you can see is, we have, basically 200 businesses. It's doing some processing in the background. So this is all the stuff that, makes working with data a little bit harder. But what we're doing in the background is we're taking and we're getting rid of any businesses, that were no longer open, any duplicates that might have shown up in the search. And then as you see these things populate right here, what you're going to notice is that we're also looking for email addresses. And so this one here, it means that we've looked for email addresses, but in this particular example, we couldn't find one. In this example, we found 6. So we'll click on that and just kind of see what it is that we're looking at. And a lot of these emails where we're pulling them back from. So these ones, some of these look really good, for the business itself. And the nice part about this is that they're going to be able to just quickly, send that contact to the CRM. And once we send that over to the CRM, it's going to automatically be in your system. So I heard the wow. Talk to me about that.
Yeah.
Is that?
Yeah. Because not only are you not only doing this directly right from within the CVN CRM, but then you're also, it's basically like you're doing a Google search within it, and then you're able to just plug and play versus, the whole pull a list from somewhere or buy a list from somewhere that we don't even know if it's dated. They might not even have emails a lot of times. And then we got to take and import them and all of that. And it's like, my audience, we're cleaners. You know what I mean? Like we're not the most tech savvy I am. They know I am, but most of us are not over here. So it's like when it's just literally the click of a button, send it to the CRM, like that's amazing.
That's what we're trying to do. So yeah, that's literally everything I talked about before. Like you're kind of seeing it now in action and just how fast this happens. And the thing is like I heard you say wow, and I think the reason why you said wow is because you've done it the other way.
Yep.
And so, and then, I mean, you're talking, sometimes you'll spend hours trying to clean data, figure all this out, and then you start kind of trying to work the data and you realize the business hasn't been open for 3 years, but it was on Google Maps. And, or like you said, it's really data. And the nice part about this, and what I really just, talked about before, is that we are doing this live search. So when you're pulling it in, it's the same results you get if you went to Google Maps and took a look at the data there. And yeah, we pull some email addresses. We do get a little aggressive when pulling them. Like, for example, I'm not 100% sure where this particular email address came from, but my guess is it was like somewhere on their Facebook page or their LinkedIn profile, which we also found above. And, if it doesn't look like a good email address, you don't have to bring it in. But the ones that do look good, are the ones that match the domain, or honestly, like Gmail. A lot of companies are still, building their business on Gmail. What I want you to understand about where this data comes from is it's all publicly available on the internet. And it's on their pages or associated with their business. And the reason why I talk about that is because, you could have all the data world sitting in a database somewhere, and I don't know where they necessarily pulled it from. But the ones that are public on the internet and the ones that you can find by doing some Google searches manually, those are the ones that everybody else is finding and sending emails to, which tells me that they're also the email addresses that the small business owners are listening to, because it's the ones that they've published. And so that's why we pull them in that way, and that's what they are.
Yeah, and that's another reason too why I love MapLead so much, is because you actually are pulling the data from Google. And while some people might think, oh, I thought it would be some special database, but here's the thing: there are other databases out there, but just look at it this way: those databases a lot of times aren't accurate because they're pulling them like involuntarily. Versus Google, this is the information that companies want out there because they want their customers to be able to reach them. So that's how that, in particular, to me, like this data is definitely going to be the most accurate because it's the data that the company themselves are actually putting out there. So I love it.
Absolutely. Yeah. And so now once we start pulling in data, we want to try to figure out like really 3 things if you can get the trifecta, but 2 of them for sure. So what I mean by that is, to be able to have predictability and control what we'll call outbound prospecting, meaning you're trying to find those 3 businesses, right, that you can fill that night with. Well, we want to get, to the right businesses. And so there's a lot of different things that we can do to do that. And then we want to try to get, to the right person with the right message at the right time. And so for, if I'm running a cleaning company, in my mind, I'm looking, to try to fill as many places I can, maybe in a specific area. So we can start to do things to filter the data down to try to figure out who the right person for us might be. So for example, if I'm in Arizona and this is the zip code where I've got, I'm trying to find like maybe 3 more, businesses to work with. What MapLeads can do is we'll zoom in on those and just pull back. You can see now the list just got filtered down, to those 10 businesses. And so if I, specialize in just dental companies, which I'm sure there's probably, people that love to just do certain types of businesses, or you can imagine there's a whole bunch of businesses in this particular area where we could, potentially reach out to, start to prospect, and, find ways to try to find additional companies for us to be able to work through on that particular night that we're going to be doing the cleaning services on.
Nice.
So with that in mind, what I want to talk about next is, I think this is a great filter for that. We can also look for different things, like if they had a website or not, if they've got lower ratings, or maybe they just don't have a ton of reviews, right? There's probably an angle there that you can use as a piece of data to refine, because having 200 businesses is great, but having the 5 that will do business with us is even better. Absolutely. And so what I always think about is, starting with like a big pile of hay, and then how do we sort of bring that down in like a really quick, easy, logical format that's just going to make it a lot easier for me to do. Now, from that perspective, let's just say once we do have the data, like I said, and now we've gotten like a really good handle on how to get it, quickly see it, filter it, do something with it. Now we got to action the data. And so we talked a little bit about doing some emails. What we can also do is on any one of these is we can click into it, and you can see when they have a phone number is if we hit the send to CRM right here, what we're doing is we're sending it into the business with the phone number attached to it. Whereas down here, it's basically, an email address. And so they just serve two different purposes. In one
Gotcha.
area, I'm going to be doing some emailing, right, through automation. In the other area, I want to be doing some cold calling. Now, if you love cold calling, you're going to love the CBN Power Dialer that's built in. Yeah. And so we're tapping into that. And what you can do is when you send it in the CRM like this, is that we can tag it to automatically go into the dialer. And I'll just talk about this kind of quickly. We'll revisit it again down the road, with some training videos around it. But the beauty of this power dialer is that we can load up a bunch of contacts and have this thing ready to go. And then when you come in and you're going to sit down for like an hour and you're going to make some dials, try to find yourself some business, is you just hit let's go. And that thing just starts dialing from one number to the next, to the next, to the next, until somebody answers. And all you have to do is just sit there and wait for somebody to say hello, and then just go ahead into your pitch and work on trying to get yourself on site to be able to do like a quick walkthrough of their business, meet them in person, like that kind of thing. And be able to sell your services. Not only does it do that, but it also keeps track of how many times you call the business. So I think in a perfect world, we're going to make a dial, make a connection, make a sale.
Yep.
Anybody that's done cold calling will tell you that's not how it goes.
Right.
Right. And if it does for you, man, that's great. Right. And but just keep in mind that you're going to have to make a lot more dials to get to the next one. So typically, though, you're dialing the phone. Maybe they're answering, they're busy. I don't know. The person's not there. You got to call back. So the cool thing about the power dialer that's built into CBN now is that it's going to keep track of when you made that dial and then automatically put it onto the list for you in the future again. And so what I mean by that is I like to, when I'm doing prospecting, I love to work a list to zero, right? I don't want to look at anything else. I just want to come in and say, I got 20 dials to make today, because that's what I've committed myself to doing. I come in, I make those dials. When they're done, I move on. Now, the old way of doing this, you had to keep track and tack it, all these different things. But with the power dialer that's built in, it's going to automatically know that you dialed it today, and it's going to know that you want to wait a week to dial it again. And then next week when you come in, it's going to automatically be back on your list for you. And then eventually, maybe you've called it 10 times. It says, hey, like, we're done with this lead. We're just going to take it out of the dialer altogether. And so that's all now built into the platform as well.
Wow. That's crazy. That right there is crazy, because I wish this was around when I had my lead generation service. I used to have like a whole telemarketing service with like 20, 30 callers. They would have loved that instead of all of this manual dialing. So that's just huge. I appreciate that.
Yeah, because when you're manual dialing, it's too easy for you to not dial the next dial. It's just so much easier when this thing's going, and you don't even have to think about it. It's just happening until somebody says hello, and it just puts it on a track for you to sort of keep it going. So that's something that we have available. And the next thing to talk about is, we talked about filtering down into postal zip codes. Now, some people don't like dialing. Emailing can be maybe not their jam either. But I'll tell you, the best way to make a sale, if you can do it, is just in person. So if that's your jam and you want to go on site and visit, one of the things that we did is we want to leverage the filters and build on things as we go. Remember, we're trying to take it from 10 down to the 5 that we want to, actually get in front of. So here in this case, I've got 10, but what I did is these 10 are all, inside of that specific zip code. So now what I can do is I can say, hey, you know what? I want to go visit them in person. And that's probably enough for the moment. And what it's going to do is we'll name this route. We'll just call this, Tuesday, whatever. And then we say build route. And what our platform here is doing is we're going to use AI. So one of the first things I'll say is, like, you can always come here and add like your office address or wherever you want to start and stop from. But I'm going to skip that step. I've already added 5 businesses to this. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to tell, the AI that we want to start here and we want to end here. And what we'll do is we'll just go ahead and click on optimize route. And in just a second, you're going to see this route pop up. And then when I click on the view route button, you're going to see, let's see if I can switch this. You're going to see now the absolute best possible path to take to go into every one of these businesses that you just put on the map. And so what this is going to do is just make it a lot more efficient for you to know the route to take to walk in. And every time you walk in, you know what you're pitching them. And, ideally what we're doing is we're really honing in on an area. So imagine now, if you're normally cleaning 5 businesses a night, well, what if we put them really close together and you can clean 6? Like, those are the kind of things I want you thinking about, that Map Leads can really help enable for you, as a business owner.
I love that. And then not even in addition to that, because I'm just looking at it from a prospective perspective right now, because that'll save a ton of time. Like one of the biggest reasons why I prefer cold calling over getting out and going door to door, even though door to door is very effective, is because of the time it saves when you just hop on the phone, especially with a power dialer, right? But I'll tell you what, if I ever do decide to get out here and go prospected, I mean, this would be the only way to do it. Like, come on, like it's putting everything in a logical order, and then it's also going to even tell you the best way to go back to your starting point. So that's beautiful right there. I love it.
Yeah, exactly. And no, and listen, I agree with you. I think so in my stack ranking of order, it's kind of, I always say, do you want prospecting with your time or your money? Your time is probably the most valuable, but maybe the most effective. And so I stack rank it in, if I had all the time in the world, I would absolutely go in person.
Yep.
Because I think it's the most beneficial. And then I would cold call immediately next. That one I think is also the most impactful.
Yeah.
Then I think about, believe it or not, I actually think about doing postcards, and then I think about
Okay.
emails. Yeah,
Wow.
just because I
Okay.
think the amount of impact and things that they can have in that process.
Gotcha. And I'm glad you shared that too, because with your sales background is good to know.
Yeah. Well, so think about it this way too. I think about, where do I want to compete?
Mhm.
Now, what I mean by that is, think about the barrier to entry to do something. The barrier to entry to go in person is high. So how many people go in person that day? Honestly, they probably
Yeah.
had 3 people walk in all week at most. So now you're competing 1 in 3 over the course of the week. Now, if I'm cold calling, right, and maybe 10 people do that in the week, now I'm 1 in 10. If
Yep.
I'm sending a postcard, right, like that's now physically in front of you as well, and they're going through the mail. If I'm 1 in 5 there, that's great. If I'm emailing, that can be a little bit harder, because why? The barrier entry to send an email is way easier, and the automation around it's a lot higher. So now I'm probably competing 1 in 100 that day.
Yeah.
So how do you want to
Man,
compete with them is another way I sort of think about it.
I gotta give you this. You dropped the ball. I gotta give that to you. that was right there.
So I didn't know that was a thing. Now I'm going to try to see if I can get another one of those somewhere in here.
Right. I usually don't do them. Like I usually let the editor do that type of stuff, but I had to do it myself that time.
I love it.
Yeah.
Well, so that, here's the thing. I guess, you do a lot of like coaching and training. I mean, from your perspective, people that are cold calling. So I mean, cleaners, like you started a cleaning company and you probably enjoyed that type of work, and it's very different than picking up a phone. Right.
Yeah.
And I think about the partnership with my wife and I, where she will not make a phone call, but that's all. I hate sending emails, right? Because that's just the way that we communicate. So if it's a phone call, I get the phone call. If it's an email, she's writing the email, and we've worked really well together like that.
Yeah.
And so, from your perspective, when you think about, training people and cold calling, stuff like that, like what are maybe some things that you've run into, that prevents people from making those calls?
You know what? I wonder what stops them, because I can't understand that logic. To me, it's like if the money is on the other line, why don't you just pick up the phone? So it's kind of hard for me to understand why they don't do it. I don't
Yeah.
know if it's the fear of the rejection. I don't know if I don't know what like they have the script, I give them the script. So I'm just like, well, it can't be, you don't know what to say. It's like, I'm so confused about why people don't do it, but I can tell you with this power dollar for sure, that'll definitely help them, because you don't have to think about it anymore. Take a lot of the thinking out. So I don't know though.
So I have this like kind of theory or thought, and I think that, especially like even just my own experience teaching, coaching reps along the way, and taking somebody. I've hired people that didn't even have a LinkedIn profile, and I've watched them go on to become like directors of full sales organizations, and have learned and grown a whole bunch along the way. So when we get to the piece around cold calling, I think a lot of times it's just that people have a lot of anxiety around it. And the anxiety that I think that they get comes from not doing it and not knowing what to expect when they do it. Right. And so I think that you become really confident in something when you have some experience under your belt and doing it, because if you've never done it before, I mean, look, you could be confident going into it. There's people like that.
Yeah.
Right. They're just going to jump off the deep end, fully confident no matter what. And some of them do really well. But I think for the most people, most humans in the world, I think until you've done it a few times, or you've seen it done a few times, like really you just have anxiety, which I think is a completely natural, thought. And I think it just gives you, a paralysis around ever actually just jumping in and doing it. So with that being said, I wanted to try to find a way to be able to, help people as much as I could, but obviously I can't
Mhm.
be there for all of them. And so where I'm going with all this is there's this button right here called the AI sales trainer.
All right now.
And yeah, I'm excited to click on this. And so for anybody who is terrified of cold calling, but wants to grow your business, right? I think it's really important that you learn how to do this. And so what I've done is I've used AI voice. So if you haven't heard of this yet, AI voice is just, you've heard of AI, like maybe Chat GPT, like you're talking to the
Mhm.
computer and it's talking back to you and you're kind of blown away because it feels like you're talking to a friend. Well,
Yeah.
now what they do is they also have that in a voice version. So now in the past, it sounded really robotic and you could sort of tell. I'm not
Right.
going to say you can't tell it's a robot still, but I'm going to say it's a lot more natural than it's ever been before in the past.
Yep.
And so one of the things that AJ and I have been working on here, I think, kind of say AJ loves this feature. I love this feature.
Yeah.
We both love it because I think we both love dialing the phone, it sounds like. And we know what the
Yep.
benefits are. Again, making a cold
Yeah.
call. And I'll tell you, the feeling when you win a cold call is even better.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So what he gave me like a pretty good script here for you guys to sort of practice with. Now, look, before I jump into this, there's one thing I want to say because this thing sticks with me. When I'll share a story actually. So when I first moved up to the Bay Area, I'm not huge into sports. Never really grew up around them, things like that. Never had access to go to games or anything along those lines. And somebody
Mhm.
handed me some Warriors tickets. And I was like, I didn't even know who the Warriors were. I didn't live too
Right.
far from the stadium, so I took my son with me, and it was the coolest thing I had ever experienced. But I remember we got there a little bit early, and we didn't know any better, and we're sitting in our seats, and
Right.
I'm watching these guys come out into the court, and just fascinated by this whole thing. The thing I was the most fascinated by is that what they were doing, which was practicing.
Mhm.
And I'm thinking to myself, man, the world pays these people millions of dollars. They're the best of the best. All we want to do is watch them play. They've probably practiced all week. They're the last people I can think of that need to practice, and they're the ones doing it. And
Right.
then I would walk into work Monday morning. I watched the sales rep pick up a phone, kind of coming in off the weekend at 8 a.m. and started making some dials, and somebody answered, and they just weren't prepared. And I said,
Yeah.
you know what's the problem? I said, you're not practicing. I said, who are we to think that we're just going to come in off the street, off of weekend long, and then we're just going to, hop into the phone and like actually be successful, right?
Come
Because
on.
you practice sales. You're not. So you practice law, you practice medicine, you practice sports, like you
Yeah.
practice sales. Sales is an ever-changing thing, and it's a game that you're trying to sort of get better and hone your craft at.
Yeah.
So I talk about all that because the thing that I want to sort of sit in your head when I say this is I want you to practice with your peers,
Yep.
not your prospects. I don't
Mm.
want you to get on a call cold. I don't want you to make cold call cold. I want you to be as warm as you can be when you start that cold call, because when they answer the phone, right, you might have been the third one to call them that day or in that moment, or they're busy, right? They weren't expecting your call. They don't want your call, right?
Right.
So the first thing they want to know is, do I know you and what do you want, right? And as soon as they figure those two things out, or they think you're a sales call, right, they're trying to sort of get off the call. So
Yep.
you fumbling that part of it is going to, that little half-second trip here or there, or not sounding sort of like polished or dialed, it's going to make your job a lot harder to do, and you're going to have a lower success rate. So if I want you to practice on your peers and not your prospects, and maybe you don't have a peer to practice with,
Mhm.
how are you going to do that? And so this AI voice trainer actually becomes your peer. And what I've created is a bot that when you enter in your phone number and you hit start the call, it's going to call you as the easiest way to pragmatically set this up. But you answer your phone.
Yep.
And when you answer the phone, it's as if you call them, and they're going to say, hey, right, this script is going to pop open. It's going to say, thanks for calling Quality Dental. How can I help you today? And if you just kind of mostly get this out, it's going to recognize that you gave the right, answer. And then we're going to go through the path. First part's easy. When you get down to this part here, we've created 4 different objections that you're probably going to hear on a pretty regular basis if we're prospecting for cleaning services. And we're going to give you what you should say in a response. And what the AI bot's going to do is it's going to randomly pick 2 of these things. It's going to make you sort of go through that process. And what we're doing for you is we're creating what I want you to have, like muscle memory, in 2 ways. One, I want you to just kind of quickly and comfortably know what to say. You don't have to follow the script. Don't say word for word. Make it natural, though. Like, I want you
Yep.
to know what the direction is that you're going and what you're trying to say. The biggest thing, though, I want you to do is that in your responses, I want you to ask for it again. Right. And that's the second muscle memory I want to create for you, which is I want you to be able to ask for it 2, 3, 4 times if you need to.
Yep.
because they're not listening on the first, they're trying to dodge you on the second. Finally, by the third, you might have got their attention. By the fourth time, they're finally saying, okay. And I'll tell you, when you think about where you compete in the world, most people quit after one.
Yep.
More people quit after two. You keep going on the third or fourth time of asking for it. And I'm not saying you're being annoying or anything like that. Sometimes it can kind of feel like that. But
Right.
if you just be persistent and kind of keep spinning it and handling their objections and showing them why they should listen to you, eventually you capture their attention. Not all the time, but you're going to do it a lot more. You're going to compete with people less because you've, responded 3 or 4 times where somebody responded once and hung up.
Yep.
And so if you get through all that, you'll have a couple more down here. Eventually it's going to reward you if you did well, or it's going to hang up on you if you didn't do well. And that's
Yeah.
okay. And then the best part about it is I don't have anything here, but you'll see a little recording here with a score and then what you did well and what you could do better. And the thing is you can sit here and practice with this thing until you feel comfortable to then go back into map leads, grab all those leads, put them into the power dialer and just go crush it. And so the idea of this is to help you get better at what you're doing, so that you can, obviously use the tools and win more service, business for yourself.
Come on, Tom. Like, how can you lose with this? And you know what, that story you told, I have to steal that, by the way. Like, you're right. These are the greatest players in the world. And and they probably, like you said, they probably practice all week. They've been doing this stuff since they were kids, likely. And it's like they still practice and warm up before each game. Like, come on now, who are we to think we can just, walk in here and just hop on the phone and get to it? It's like, no, why not warm yourself up, practice, make sure that you're at the top of your game. No, I love that right there. We didn't know we were signing up for master sales training today for cold calling as well. So I appreciate this, Tom.
No, it's awesome. And listen, there's more to come. We'll, obviously as we go through a lot of these things, and the biggest thing is that I want you to understand is it's not just data. Right? It's not just a CSV file. It's taking the whole thing from start to end and making sure that you have all the tools that you need through the process. And so if you want to be the best cold call in the world, start here, right? Yep. Practice it. Listen to your recordings. You want to, be the best emailer, like we get you the emails. Whatever it is that you want to do, we're trying to make sure that we're giving you, all the right tools. There's two last things I want to talk about real quick, and then we'll kind of wrap this up and save some stuff for later. I'm sure, AJ, we can come back in, maybe do some classes for people that want, to take a deeper dive with us. One thing I want to show you is that, hey, listen, if you don't want to go pick off every single email one by one, we also have this view here. It's a list view. So we can still do things like apply filters. And once we apply the filters, and you can see I've got, 10 businesses showing or whatever, we can click select all, send them all to the CRM. You can download them as a CSV. If you still love CSV files, go for it. I don't know why people want that feature, but it's yours. Take it. And then the final thing that I'll talk about here, and I'm going to not do this to 10, but let me just drop onto 1. There's 2 places you can do this actually. So real quick, we can go here as long as they have a mailing address. And if the address is off a little bit, you can just edit it, set with there, you've got it. Man, I'm underselling some of these things, but you click to see the Google business profile, see the phone number. Yeah, there's all these things, right? So where would you find the addresses if you need them, blah, blah, blah. But we can send a postcard right here, and we can send it, that way, one by one. Or on the list view, we can come here and we can click send a postcard, and you'll see I can send it to 1 business, right? Or maybe it was 100, but we can just knock this out real quick, and we hit continue. And we go ahead and click send this postcard. And now I already loaded this postcard up. So, if you ever have a postcard that you want to send, they're very easy to create in Canva if you use Canva or other tools like that, and come up with a postcard of what it is that you want. Sorry, and then let me go back over to this view here. And actually, I'm just going to pop in here. It should be populating here in just a second. So we build the postcards individually. And then in just a moment, when the postcard's done, I'll be able to click on it and view it. What I want you to understand is that you can send these to any business, and then once the postcard's available, we can go ahead and take a look at the postcard. And just here's an example of actually, a cleaning company that was using it. It's a 6x9 glossy postcard. Imagine, one of your prospects getting this thing in the mail, and then, you could put in like an offer with a QR code, things like that. And we're going to go ahead and automatically address all these postcards, get them out in the mail. All you have to do is click a button, and you can do that, like I said, with 1 card at a time. Or you can do, hundreds at a time. So now go back to, do you want to prospect with your time or your money, right? And maybe you want to do all of them. But at the end of the day, if I got some time, go in person. You got a little less time, want to have more impact, make some phone calls. right? If I don't have any time for any of that stuff, or maybe I'm cleaning all night and sleeping all day, wake up, drink your coffee, send 100 postcards, go back to bed. Whatever it is you want to drink. Yeah.
Right.
We're gonna
I
make it as
mean,
easy as
literally.
possible. Yeah.
And it really does. I mean, we covered pretty much everything. You talking about prospecting in person, going door to door. We talking about cold calling. We fixed that to the T. We talking about email marketing. Like, then we talking about postcard. Like, I mean, what more could you like? I don't. And then we got the training for the cold calling. We also got then a route planner for when you go door to door as well. I mean, it's literally covering every angle to make it that much easier. Like, if you're in commercial cleaning and you don't have this particular tool, I kind of feel bad for you because you had a very big disadvantage. And so I just got to thank you again, Tom, for one, demoing that, and also just coming on and explaining to it and partnering with me and Clean Biz Network to, roll this out for us in this cleaning industry. Like, we're ahead of the game with this. I appreciate it.
Oh, you're ahead of the game for sure. I'm excited to start this journey with you. That's how I view it. And this is the beginning. This is the intro. This is the introduction to everything. There's going to be a lot more to come. And AJ, I can't wait to work with you through the process. So we're here to help.
For sure. Absolutely. Thanks, Tom. And so we are running a little bit short on time. So I'm going to save some of the other questions I have for you. But I will say this one, for those who are interested and you love what you see, which should be everybody that saw this video right now, you get it. So actually, we want to kind of show that, Tom, how they can kind of sign up. So if you're in Clean, first of all, you have to be in Clean Biz Network. That's one. Yeah. And so once you're in Clean Biz Network, all you got to do is click on the map leads option on the menu. You'll see it on the side menu when you're logged in. And then you'll just sign up for a plan, very affordable plans. And Tom will kind of show you here just how you can move forward with that.
All right. Yeah, perfect. Let me take a second here and show you that.
Cool.
We're gonna have to pause right there for 1 second, but let me just go in and change it. Because what happened is I turned it into a paid plan.
Right.
I have to go unpay it. So yeah. So let me do that real quick and I'll show you, and then we'll do that. All right, perfect. So exactly, what you just said is now inside of the CBN CRM system, you will notice in your custom menu down on the bottom, we'll have a tab called Map Leads Installed. And when you click on that tab, you'll see this landing page, right here. And as you scroll down, we've worked together to come up with two really awesome plans for you. One of them is going to have everything except for, the power dialer and the AI voice trainer. And they'll have a few, less credits. So these are the two plans. Those are kind of really the two differences between the two. If you want to learn more about it, you can keep scrolling down. There's different things that we'll talk about, different features and such. And then if you want to get signed up, just click on the plan that you want. Once you sign up for the plan, then when you click on the Map Leads tab, it's just going to automatically get you right into the platform when you have a paid plan. That's it.
Perfect. Beautiful, Tom. I appreciate that. And thank you so much for, sharing it with us. And so I'm going to switch it up a bit. And I want to have some fun with you before we go. We want to get to know you a little bit. So we're going to do something what we like to call the lightning round. And so basically the way it works is I ask you a word, or I just mention a word or phrase rather, and then you pretty much just tell me the first thing that comes to mind. So you ready?
I don't know. Let's see how it goes. Let's have
it. All right. Let's see what we got. All right. First one is Alameda, California.
My family, honestly, I think it's the place where the kids have grown up. So I immediately think of community. Yeah, community and family.
Nice. Next one is, I hope I'm saying this right, Agawam, Massachusetts.
So you didn't say it right, but I love it. It's called Agawam. And so I'll give you an even funnier one. That's a small town. That's where I grew up. And really, there's another town inside of the town. I don't know how this worked out, but it did. The town that I actually grew up in was called Feeding Hills. So when you talk about Agawam and Feeding Hills, which was part of Agawam, that makes me think of just home and growing up and honestly snow and winter, because we used to have a lot of winter activities there. And so I do miss that quite a bit.
Okay, fair enough. Next one is, what's more important for a founder, sales or engineering? And I mean, obviously I'm talking tech here, but.
Yeah. So listen, I think first-time founders focus on product. Yeah. Meaning they think about something that they want to build, and second-time founders focus on distribution. Right. I think that sales is a really important thing. I think you can have the best product in the world, and if you don't have a market that you're serving and a problem that you're solving in that market, a market that's not getting value out of what it is that you're building, or a market that you can't reach, you have the best product in the world that don't matter. So I actually really do believe that it's kind of a little bit of a combination of both is the real answer. But I think that, you cannot forget about the market. I think that's probably the most important thing.
Yeah. 1,000%. 1000%. All right, next one: bootstrapping or private equity.
I would go bootstrapping all day. And I think it's
Okay.
because I spent so much time on the private equity side. But listen, the whole reason why I kind of building out this system, and I think probably a lot of your audience that isn't self-employed, there's a lot of
Mhm.
benefits that come with that. And when you have private equity, even though it's still a private company and you're self-employed, you got a lot of people to answer to.
There
And
you go.
so I love the bootstrapping piece because I kind of just get to do what I want, and
Yeah.
there's this sense of optionality and freedom that kind of comes along with it.
Yeah.
That being said, like, you got to be a lot more resourceful, and
Yeah.
you got to kind of put your time in and do the work because you don't always have the money to do it. So, but
Yeah.
if I could
1000%.
choose it, wave of one, I'm bootstrapping all day.
Yeah, same. I contemplate that all the time with myself because like I know I could go a lot faster. We can do a lot more if I go ahead and just get some money invested. But it's like, man, I'm cool with the steady growth. I'm chilling. I get to do what I want pretty much. So it's
Yeah,
like, why mess that up and have to answer to people? If that's the case, I might as well go get a job. So that's just my view on it. But
same, same.
yeah, fair enough. All right, thoughts on social media?
I'm not big on social media. I
Okay.
don't know why that is. I think it's maybe partly my age. I'll tell you the funniest thing that I was on Facebook back when that was the thing. So that'll give you
Mhm.
a little clue into how old I am. When the next platforms came out, I couldn't get my name and I never thought of another handle. And then I just sort of let it go.
Yeah.
So social media is not a big one for me. I tend to
Okay.
just like talking in person. I don't like typing. So, social media is a lot of like reading and scrolling. And I feel like I kind of waste a lot of time scrolling.
Yeah.
So I'd rather be out there chatting and building. That's the area I like to thrive in.
Love it. Love it. All right. Next one is key to success.
I think it's what is it they say, like preparation meets opportunity.
Yeah.
And so I think that really comes with just staying with it and
Yeah.
and trying different things until you sort of find it. And I
Yeah.
think a lot of times people are so close to having that opportunity put in front of them that they were preparing for,
Mhm.
and maybe they just sort of stopped, at the 5 yard line and didn't know that they were that close.
Yeah.
And so I think the key to success is just that, right? Sort of staying with it, and being prepared for when you get an opportunity put in front of you that you can actually, leverage. I don't know. Hopefully that makes sense, but it is a
No.
lot about just grit and staying with it.
Yeah. But I heard Robert Kiyosaki say one time, he said, the best way to get business is to be in business. It's like
Yes,
sometimes just being, you know what I mean? So I think that go hand in hand with that. I agree. All right. Next one is your favorite hobby when you're free.
man. I don't get to do a lot of it anymore, but I like woodworking.
Okay.
Uh,
Okay.
yeah. So, or just building things with wood. I've built all my kids' furniture. My wife does a lot of food, stuff with food recipe development, and that comes with photography. And so I make a lot of cutting boards, believe it or not,
Nice.
because that's a lot of fun things to do. And then they turn into nice gifts. So instead of going to somebody's house and bringing a bottle of wine, I bring a cutting board.
Nice. Nice. I love it. And it got that personal touch to it. So nice. All right. Favorite YouTube channel to watch.
YouTube channel to watch. Let me turn that into a podcast that I like to listen
Okay.
to, which
Yeah.
which is great. Next, I don't know if he's on YouTube, but I do watch him in that way. So, but Alex Hormozy right now is a guy that
Okay.
if you ever heard of him, is somebody that I really enjoy a lot of his content. He's newer to me, so I haven't really had a lot of stuff that he's been doing, but a lot of stuff he talks about, I think it's a good blend of things, and so I really enjoy watching his stuff.
Yeah. If I had to say who was the best at explaining this stuff, this whole entrepreneur stuff, I mean, he's definitely the guy for sure. All right.
Yeah.
Next one. Something that you splurged on since becoming an entrepreneur.
I think when you have a family and you live in the Bay Area, you don't splurge. But I actually I don't know if I can answer that question. I think like a new computer was a big splurge for me. I
There
finally
you go.
so if everybody ever deals with all those tabs and everything, and then your computer doesn't run anymore, I had a meltdown one day and said I'm just gonna go buy a brand new computer. I did, and
Nice.
that felt like a splurge. And honestly, it was probably the best thing I've ever done.
Yeah. Yeah. I find that consistent that, entrepreneurs tend to say something business related when they do splurge on anything. Right. All right. Well, I got another one for you then. Something that you look forward to splurging on at some point, in the future, something, that you look forward to buying or anything like that.
This is so random of an answer, but it was something I actually just said yesterday. I also used to work in car audio a long time ago when I was in high
Mhm.
school, and I sold car audio. I ran the store and I helped them with putting all this stuff in. Anyway, where I'm going with all that is I think through that process, I had this appreciation for not necessarily like a nice car, but
Mhm.
nice features in a car.
Right.
So
Right.
you could give me a Prius. I'm fine with it if it's loaded, right? I love that.
Right.
But there's this, but here's the thing. So for the first time, I thought to myself, man, if I could ever, so my son always asks me, he's about the age of driving, and he's always like, man, if you could get any car in the world, what would it be? And I'm always like, I don't know, I don't really care as long as it's got like
Right.
power stuff, you know?
Yeah.
But there's a show that him and I kind of bonded over. And I don't remember the name of the show itself, but the garage is Gotham Garage. And they
Okay.
build all these cars. And I tell you what, I just kind of fell in love with the way they do a lot of those builds. So if I could splurge on anything like that, you know, down the road or in the future, I would love to commission them for a car.
Nice.
That's like this like super custom build, kind of unique, you know, individualized thing with some of the bells and whistles that they put on it. Totally random answer, but you found one, and
Yeah.
that's what I would do. That's what I would do.
And that's one of the best answers I got to that one. I love it. All right. Let's see. Best decision you made in business so far.
Getting in business.
There you
Yeah.
go.
Well, it's sometimes the best and the worst, right? I think that we all have that feeling.
Yep.
But listen, if you don't start, you don't go. So I think just making that leap and doing it.
Yep. And then I got two more for you. Favorite genre of music.
This is random as well. So you're learning a ton about me. I used to DJ when I was younger. I DJed weddings for about 10 years. And
Nice.
funny enough, I hated country music.
Okay.
And then I moved to Arizona. My radio station was stuck on a country station, and I turned into loving country music. I wouldn't say it's my favorite genre of music, but it's the most surprising one that I never thought I was going to enjoy. And I'll find myself listening to it from time to time just to, you know, kind of focus and pass some time. Country music, believe it or not. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. And so my follow-up to that is then, especially with you being a DJ, I won't categorize it into a genre. I'm just going to say top 5 artists all time.
Wow, that's a hard one. I'm going to have to pass on that one answer, and I think it's your last question, so it's probably the worst one to pass on. The reason being is I can never remember who sings the songs. I only remember where they are and what they sound like. That's how I used to operate. Yeah, it would be really difficult for me to actually answer that question. Funny enough.
That's funny. You're not the first person to say that to me, and it's like I'm that always surprises me, especially with you being a DJ. It's like, you know what I mean? I expect you to. It's like you have to know that, right? But cool, fair enough.
When I was DJing, it was CDs, and I did a lot of weddings. So it was, you know, to put that in perspective, it was more like an MC than like I did some clubs and stuff, but it was never really like my jam. But people would ask me for a song, and I knew the name of it based off of what the album cover looked like and what number track it was, but I never actually knew who sung it or whatever.
Wow.
That's just how I mentally cataloged it all. And so to this day, I most of the time cannot tell you artists that I enjoy or like, but I can, you know, kind of point you to some songs and things like that as I'm listening to it. So it's a tough one for my brain. It just doesn't catalog it that way.
Fair enough. With track 3 on some random CD, it's all right, man. But either way,
I'll make some notes next time we do this. You can feed that one back and see how prepared I was.
Gotcha. All right, cool. So that wraps up the lightning round. So I got one more question for you. Actually, I'm gonna do 2. I'll do 2 more. So one question I like to ask after the lightning round is, if you lost everything that you got, had to start all over from zero, you get to keep the information that you have, but you just lose everything, all your money, start from zero. You want to build back to the point that you are today. What would be the first thing that you do?
Network.
Okay.
Network and I'd sell. Those are the 2 things.
Yeah.
Right. So there's this phrase, and I don't mean to like materialize this. So don't take this wrong way, but revenue solves everything. You know?
Oh,
so
for sure.
If you can figure out how to bring dollars to the door, man, that really matters. And I think if you can, you know, do that with some sort of intentionality and some sort of process, you literally printing money at that point, right? It's just a matter of what other exterior, you know, sort of constraints you might have. Right. And so for like a cleaning company, it might be that, hey, I've only got so many businesses a night. But you know, even in that, I kind of tried to show you that it's like, listen, if we can keep everybody close, I could do 6 instead of 5. Like, that's great, right? And it's the same amount of time. I'm just spending less time traveling, more time making money. So I think about it in that way, like just driving efficiency, you know, in sales and being able to make sure that I can actually sell something. And then the other reason I say network is that it's so true, right? You got to know people, and then people got to know who you are, and they got to know who to go to when they need like a cleaner, right? Like you got to be out there and that makes it really easy. But yeah, if I had to pick one, it's like just learn how to sell yourself, sell your business, sell what it is you're doing, and a lot of things will start to fall in line after that.
Great answer. And then the final one I always like to ask everybody before we wrap it up if somebody's listening to this podcast or watching the video on YouTube or somewhere, and they're listening to Tom and they're hearing us talk all this entrepreneur talk, and they think they want to start a business, but they're just kind of scared to make that jump, what would you say to that person right now?
Figure out your why. And I know it might be like kind of a basic answer, but what is the why that you really want to do? Because I'd love to say just jump into it, but maybe it's not for you, and that's okay. But because if you can really kind of be clear on your why and follow it as a North Star, it'll drive you through the times that are going to be tough. Because in the very beginning, it is tough. It's up and down, and you got to just sort of stay with it. And then eventually, you get to a point where the machine's running and you got the flywheel effect happening. You got some inertia and motion. And then I think things become, I wouldn't say easier, but they become a lot easier to deal with and to navigate. And so I think the biggest thing is just really understanding the purpose of which you want to be in business for, right? And it can't just be money. It really can't just be money, because you can get money anywhere. You get a job anywhere. You can find a way to trade time for money. What is it that you want to do? And if you have that deep enough burning passion, like, you're going to find your way into it. But I think that's the biggest thing. And I think if you know your why, you become a lot less scared about doing it.
Yeah, I love that answer. And I love when I ask these questions to intelligent people like yourself. And it's very, very, very reminiscent of things I've said on my YouTube channel for years now. And so it always make me feel validated. Like, yes, I told y'all I was giving y'all the right advice. So, right? So thank you for that, for making me feel good. Right?
No, it's good, man. I'm glad to hear that. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but anyway, thank you so much, Tom. This is Tom Melbourne, everybody. Thanks again for coming on, Tom. This is the part where I always say, let everybody know how they can follow your journey, but you already told us you're not a social media guy. So I'll let the people know if you want to, hear from Tom. Well, actually, you want to let them.
Yeah, well, just like jump into the product, right? Like, get into it. And there's nothing more I love talking about than trying to help people be successful. It doesn't necessarily have to be just with the product that I have, though I think I create a good path, for you to be able to do that. Jump into the product, anything that you ping me there. If you need support or whatever, I'm on there, I'm listening. I'm, always here and happy to help out. So I think it's the best way, right? Because my journey is in that product, really. And you'll see a lot of things change, and, new features come on board. And I'm always trying to find different ways that can, kind of level up the game, not just for the product, but if I level up the product, then it helps level up what you're doing too. So that's the best place to connect.
Let's do it, y'all. And then me and Tom are definitely going to do some trainings for sure for anybody that decides to add map leads onto their CBN membership. We'll be doing some live Zooms and stuff like that. They kind of help you get more training on it, make sure you maximize the product. And so we look forward to building with y'all, man. So thanks again. I appreciate it, Tom. Thanks for your time.
Thanks, AJ. We'll talk soon.
All right. Thanks. Are you looking to start your own cleaning company? Or maybe you started your cleaning company, but you just need a support group, some mentorship, some guidance. Hell, a bidding calculator just to help you know if you're pricing the job correctly. Join us at cleanbiznetwork.app. That's www.cleanbiznetwork.app today and get on the right track with your cleaning company. We have everything you could possibly need to get you going in the right direction, and see why we've been the leading cleaning business consulting company for the past 5 years, and why they call me, AJ Simmons, the cleaning business GOAT. So I can help you just like I've helped, and my company has helped thousands of other people start and grow their cleaning companies. Go to the #1 source today, www.cleanbiznetwork.app. Thank you.